Hello and welcome to Stand Up for Jehovah. It's been a long time, hasn't it? But I've finally got some material, something to have a bit of a giggle at. Well, as you're aware, I drove up to my old congregation last Sunday to, it's not funny, to warn them about a paedophile in the congregation. However, while I was up there, some quite amusing things happened that really do deserve a bit of discussion. So the first thing that happened was this. I was driving up there. It took me 3 hours to drive up there. And I was driving up there all anxious and worried and terrified about all these children that were in danger from this paedophile who'd been abusing pre-teens for 30 years. And I got up there and I sat outside their Kingdom Hall and put my tights on in the car because I couldn't drive with my tights on. And eventually teetered in with my book bag, and the meeting had started. I went in, didn't quite know where to sit, looked round. I wanted to sit right at the back, but it was full of people. Because everyone sits at the back, don't they, like naughty children, just in a schoolroom. So I had to sit one row forward from the back to one side, and I sat down. And then I slowly took everything in, and I realised there were no fucking children in this Kingdom Hall. If you were a paedophile, you would be pig sick if that was the hall you'd chosen to go to. There was nothing to fiddle. What a disappointment. I won't say I walked in and thought, shit, there's no damn children. I walked in and thought, oh, thank God, nobody's at risk. But a little part of me thought, I've drove 3 fucking hours and there's no bloody kids here. Anyway, after I'd sat down for a little while, there was an old guy in front of me with a really old wife, and they must have been like at least as old as Methuselah. And I calmed down and I'm pretending to look up the scriptures, and I'm looking at this old guy sat in front of me thinking, well, you're not going to need warning, are you? Nobody's going to want to fiddle you. And then I realised this was Uncle X. Uncle X, who was quite an old man 20 years ago when I'd last attended Dewsbury congregation. Malcolm X, if you will. So I looked at Uncle X and I thought, Christ, you'd retired 20 years ago. And there's a really great story about Uncle X, Malcolm X, if you will. Uncle X had retired with Auntie X and they'd gone on holiday, and Auntie X had choked to death on an edible item which I like to describe as a sausage because it makes the story funnier. I know it's not funny, but she was really old anyway. So Auntie X had gone and Uncle X was feeling quite lonely, and he embarked on a strategy whereby he proposed to virtually every single sister in the congregation within 20 years of his age range. But obviously he started 20 years younger than himself and worked his way up as each sister said no successively. I'm not lying. This is absolutely true. As each sister said no successively, he finally landed on Auntie Y, who I didn't really know at the time. And she was about 20 years older than him, and he was retired, remember, and this was 20 years ago. And here I was, last week in December 2014, sat behind Uncle X, and the present Mrs. X sat next to him, and they were like so old they couldn't even stand up in the song or the prayer. Which brings me on to the next really funny thing that happened. When we stood up and sang the song, I recognised the words. After verse 2, I thought, I know this song, I know these words, but the music was all different, and it reminded me a little bit. There's a comedy on Radio 4 called I'm Sorry I Haven't Got a Clue, and it's like a panel game, and one of the games that they play is called singing a song to a different tune. So for instance, you might be asked as part of the game to sing I'm a Barbie Girl to the tune of Strangers in the Night, right? So it'd go like, I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world, life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. And that's what it was like, singing the Kingdom song. It was totally bizarre. And I thought, am I the only one that thinks this is really weird? And the previous tune that I'd known was a really jaunty tune. Oh no, that's the Archers theme tune, but anyway, you get the idea. And the tune that they'd replaced it with, that was clearly a satanic tune, and they'd had to get rid of it and place it with a kingdom tune. Was kind of like, it had no apparent melody or repetition to it. It just randomly went up and down. And I was like, you know, like when you go to an aerobics class and you're the person doing that when everyone else is doing that, and you punch somebody in the face by accident. Well, I kind of metaphorically was punching people in the face because I was going, oh, when they were going, oh. And it was terrible. I mean, you could just give yourself away as not being a Jehovah's Witness by that alone. So the other thing was this. When I told everybody, well, not everybody, I didn't tell anyone that. That's the whole point. I told a few people. When I told the few people that I told about this paedophile, oh, you know, 30 years, I'm saying 30 years, pre-teens, and they're going, oh, okay, oh. And I thought, you know what? I think they quite like him. I think they feel quite proud that they've got a paedophile. It's like their little, you know, their little pet project. Oh, Barry's got a paedophile. We want a paedophile. By Barry, I don't mean an uncle. I mean a congregation in Wales. Oh, Plymouth has got a paedophile. We want a paedophile. We've got our paedophile. You leave us alone. You leave us to our paedophile. We love our paedophile. And actually, that makes quite a lot of sense, because when I attended in my teens, they did have a paedophile called Gordon Beebe who fucked his own daughter and got her pregnant. But it didn't matter because they were only having a Bible study. And if we'd punished him, about 6 people would have lost Bible studies because he had about 10 kids and they were all having Bible studies. So I wondered if it'd be possible for them to maybe have like an inaugural BB chair at the back of the hall for the resident paedophile, whoever happened to be going along at that time. You know, like they have all the disfellowship people that have to sit on the back row. Maybe at the end they could have the BB chair so you could at least identify who was the paedophile. So it's not funny, is it? I don't know why I'm laughing. It's just not funny. Paedophilia is not a subject for comedy. But there you go, folks. I've managed to just shoot my career in the foot there. So I was just really let down by the fact that nobody found the song funny. Nobody found the situation bizarre. And I kind of walked out with my tail between my legs, and I thought, God, if I can't at least make a decent comedy video out of this, then I'm properly screwed. 6 hours I've driven, brothers and sisters, for this. So there you go. That was my experience in Dewsbury. I don't think I'll be doing it again unless I have some lessons on the Kingdom songs. Thank you for listening to Stand Up for Jehovah.